And we're getting ready. Of course, as I start with any stream, there's going to be a dog barking in the background. Hey everybody, welcome to Saturday afternoon here on my channel. I'm Back Jr. And we're going to return back to an old theme, temporarily anyway, a game that I happen to love and enjoyed all my childhood and throughout the years, as they actually made a whole mess of versions of this. They made it for the Atari and a whole bunch of systems, ColecoVision, NES even. And Parker Brothers is largely responsible for bringing it out to the home. And just gonna enjoy ourselves comparing the arcade classic to the home versions of that game. And we'll get that in just a little bit. I would like to say hi to my new follower, Sim Grander Pack of Wolves. Thanks for following me. Greatly appreciate it. Did that yesterday. And, well, just another fine afternoon. Weather's actually pretty nice and mild. I'm actually doing my weather voice. Matter of fact, I used to be accused of that. What's the game? What's the game? Okay, well, the game is Q*bert. Now, this was made by Gottlieb, of course, as we switch it. There it is. There's the marquee. The game was made by a company called Gottlieb. They were actually known for making some of the earliest pinball tables. In fact, some of the better pinball tables of their era. They're the ones responsible for putting in flippers into the pinball tables just to make the ball bounce back into the gameplay. And this is the game itself. Now, what's neat about this particular game is that the game didn't use your usual controls. It used joysticks, sure, but you played diagonally. In other words, up left, up right, down left, down right. Because the game itself, the board, was a pyramid. In fact, said pyramid like that, that's some of the side art there. And, well, lo and behold, you have to avoid things like that purple ball, which turns into coily when it reaches the top of the bottom of the pyramid. And, of course, anything green was not good for you. How about that? And you can see there, it's played by this young kid, found that on the internet. It's a pretty cute game with Donkey Kong Jr., some of the classics. I like to see new players play these classic games. Makes you feel pretty good. And this was one of the flyers that came out there. Q*bert collects quarters, and it most certainly did. It is their most successful arcade game that they made, and it pretty much, they actually originally was going to call it Cubes. That was his project name. But they kind of made some changes along the way, and this little guy here became its mascot. And, oh god, that wordplay, yes. It says, Q*bert's causing quite a commotion. See, without the U, the Q has a K sound. Kids are crazy about controlling Q*bert as it crisscrosses his cubes, creating new colors. If a cagey creature collides with Q*bert, he quietly complains and quickly continues. And kids can't quit just with one contest, so coins keep collecting in Q*bert's cash box. Consider collecting quarters with Q*bert, and call or contact your Gottlieb distributor. So, yeah, they had a little play on words with the Q. There was another Q game out there that had a similar sound. There was Kicks, made by Taiko. which was a puzzle game in its own right. We'll probably play that one of these days. But that was it. Now, Q*bert, boy, did he get some merchandise. He got some lunch boxes, and he got some collectible toys. They actually had a little thing of gum, a little package of gum that actually came in a Q*bert-like arcade machine. And, well, everyone loved Q*bert. It was indeed aimed towards kids. Now, as for the characters, you see there, that's Coily down there at the bottom. He's your main antagonist. No, hello, kid. He's your main antagonist. And there, that's Sam. Sam right there, whether he's in the shades or not, he will change the Q*bert's cubes back to their original color. So that's kind of a thing that you have to worry about. And of course the red balls, and then there's Ugg and Wrong Way. Ugg and Wrong Way actually go on the sides of the pyramid instead of on the tops and the bottoms. And there's one of the prototypes of the game. In fact, there's a control right there. You can see it doesn't go up and down. No, it goes in diagonal corners. And its original game was that. Now, what explains this? They actually were going to try to get speech into the game. Now, it's actually going to congratulate you. For example, if you got a bonus, 10,000 points. 10,000 points, you got a bonus Q*bert. But it didn't come out right. It started saying you got a bogus Q*bert. So some of the other words kind of sounded like they were going through a grinder, so they said, screw it. Let's just put in some random syllables, random sounds. And that's why you see the swear words mark there whenever Q*bert collides with something. And, well, the rest is history. So it was one of the first games to have a speech chip in there that kind of went all wrong. And that's why the sounds of the characters. The only words that it actually says when you end the game, when you put your initials in the vanity table, is bye-bye. So, to this day, they still make Q*bert stuff. That is a 1/6 scale arcade replica of Q*bert. Yes, it actually plays. It's under license. In fact, Gottlieb, believe it or not, Q*bert was actually under license from Columbia Pictures, because they actually had a share in Gottlieb's little works, and ultimately Sony acquired Columbia Pictures, and so to this day, Q*bert's under license by Sony Pictures. There's a little bit of trivia there for you. As he was featured in Wreck-It Ralph not too long ago. And they still make little things like this. This is the arcade classic. You can play an NES or somewhat style Q*bert there. And they even have little tabletop arcade doohickeys. That one's actually doesn't have. We played that last week, if I'm not mistaken. We played Metal Slug. And that's what that is. But nevertheless. And even the tiny arcade has a little Q*bert. In fact, I have one of those myself. And it's very cute to play. Actually, it's very hard to play, I have to admit. Joystick's not very good with that, but nevertheless, it is kind of neat to have, I have to admit. So, the console versions. They made a whole slew of them, as a matter of fact. Oh, forgot about you. My goodness. It's not Lego. It's designed to look like Lego. It's Steve-O. But the fact that they actually have one of those is really, really neat. There we are. There's the home versions. Now, the 2600 version, arguably the most popular one, largely because everyone had a 2600 back in those days. And that was created by Parker Brothers. Now, Parker Brothers was a board game, let's just say, merchandising machine. But they got into video games as well, and they actually made a couple Star Wars games. The Pattern Office wants a word for that logo. Well, yeah. Pattern Office. You mean the patent office? Q*bert. So, like I said, Parker Brothers, just like everyone else, got into video games. They made some rather good ones, I have to admit, for the Atari and the ColecoVision and the 5200 and all that kind of good stuff. We're talking about that right now. Here's Q*bert for the Atari 2600. Like I said, the most common version, the most popular version as a result. And they actually brought it back when they redesigned the 2600 into the 2600 Junior. They brought back a bunch of those old titles, and Q*bert just happened to be one of them. We have one for the 5200 as well. A little bit better graphics. And yet there's no Monopoly game that is good yet, Parker. Well, actually, that's... okay. We'll get to that in just a second. Let me just go through the roll here, and we'll talk about Monopoly as a second. Because Monopoly was a Parker Brothers game. Now, it's done by Hasbro, because Hasbro brought out everyone. 5200, yes. Thank you, Gabby. Appreciate it. Oh, my goodness. 5200's Q*bert. It looks a little bit better, sounds a little bit better, plays a little bit better. That's another question. Then they made one for the ColecoVision, of course, because ColecoVision had some of the best arcade games out there, some of the best translations. We'll take a look at that. Parker Brothers actually made an LED version, much like Coleco made those tabletop arcade games. Well, Parker Brothers just happened to make one as well, and you can see there they are. There's the pyramids, there's the multi-sided colored cubes, and all the characters that they would go in there. It is not a plug and play. No, that's the screen. That's the screen you actually play. It has the LED readouts and everything. And that is Q*bert's official arcade tabletop, made by, like I said, Parker Brothers. They were into everything back in those days. Now, here comes the fun one. This is after all that. After the video game crash and everything, Ultra, which was Konami, got the rights to put out Q*bert. In fact, it did it twice. They did it here for the NES, and this is representative of the original Q*bert game. And as you can see, it still has the same Ugh, wrong way, and Sam, of course, swear words. But the NES had a lot of the classic games coming out for it back in this particular era. This is roughly 1987, 88, thereabouts. So they got one too. And this is a little strange. This was actually done through numerous companies, but here we got NTVIC here. And that is Q*bert 3. And Q*bert 3 was also done through Konami. And we might just take a look at that if we have enough time, because actually this was fantastic. I love this game. Also, brand new creatures were in this as well. So those are the games we're going to be taking a look at. Oh, Q*bert. Brings back a lot of memories. And I used to play it in a place called Showbiz Pizza. They had one in my neck of the woods back in the day. And what was neat about the game, since Gottlieb made pinball tables, they actually had availability of pinball parts, and inside the Q*bert mechanism, inside the Q*bert arcade cabinet, they actually had a pinball kicker. So whenever, say, you fell off the pyramid, because that was quite easy to do, you would hear this. As it hits the bottom of the screen, you would actually hear Q*bert like if you were hitting the bottom of the arcade cabinet. Oh, it's just a simple pinball kicker, but it was quite neat to hear the cabinet literally go. So, there's that. Of course, we won't have that here because it's through emulation. But whatever works. Let's go ahead and fire up the arcade. And let's get started, shall we? Now, there was a sequel to Q*bert, by the way. Q*bert actually had a game called Q*bert's Cubes. And it's a bit different, but still basically the same principle. But I tell you, it was pretty neat. But they only made a couple of versions to my knowledge. The ColecoVision had it. I don't know. I think the Atari 2600, believe it or not, had one as well. But there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and hit pause. And we're going to go ahead and check out in just a second. Just reading what Vin put in here. Hey Vin, how you doing today, by the way? Appreciate you jumping in. Q*bert. Cube, too bad you cannot make a play on squared. Q*bert squared, yeah. This Gottlieb was actually going through a bit of a management crisis, by the way, when Q*bert Cubes came along. The arcade division, the pinball division, remained the Gottlieb. The arcade version, the video game entity, I should say, they renamed themselves Myslar, M-Y-S-L-A-R, largely because of the fact that was backwards pronounced rat slime. And that was kind of a critique to the management because they were quite demanding. They wanted everything done like lickety-split. And in the world of video games, when that happens, we get E.T. When you actually do care and programming and testing, you might get games like Hubert. And that's where we're going with that. I'm not saying anything bad about E.T. per se. In fact, the designer of E.T., Howard Warshaw, had an impossible task, literally. And he is a good programmer. He made Yard's Revenge, which was a brilliant game. But we're going to go on to this. Okay, so, having said that. Yeah, I played this a lot. Boy, did I play this a lot. Jump on the squares to change them to target colors. Stay on the playfield. Jumping off results in fatal plummet. Avoid all discs or things that are not green and use spinning discs to lure the snake to his death. We wind up calling him Coily. Let's put in a quarter, shall we? And let's begin. And there we go. Now, I've seen some new players play this game. I've seen them play the NES version in particular. And I have to admit, this is a hard game to master. It's an easy game to play. You just kind of have to get around the weird controls. Now, when you got the Atari version, ooh, they actually give you instructions how to get around that. It's quite easy if you think about it, and I'll get to that when we get to the game. Now, if you wait too long, by the way, you're going to get a green creature. Ooh, wow, sounds. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah. A little bit of a sync-up issue there. If you happen to leave a disc behind, you get bonus points for that. Doesn't usually happen. Now, this doesn't use proper sound. It uses sound files for this one because they really couldn't emulate the sound too well when they made this particular version of MAME. I usually play this one for this purposes because it plays best on my pokey little computer. There is wrong way, and that's up. As you can see, they kind of do things a little differently. They don't go into the bottom of the squares, they kind of cling to the side of the squares, making it a bit difficult because it's kind of harder to judge where they're going to go. I have to be real careful because that's where they start. Now that's a green ball. If you happen to land on that, you get to stop time. And I left the disc behind. I didn't need it. And I got a few extra points for that. That's basically the game. You're probably saying to yourself, a big deal. But it's so addictive. And I love the sound effects. I have to admit, Gottlieb actually has some really good sound effects for their games. What's sad is I can only name a few of the arcade games they made over the years. Cuber's Cube and Reactor are the only two I can think of off the top of my head. May have made more. But you gotta remember, this is 1982, and there was one thing that happened shortly thereafter that kind of spoiled the milk of you a little bit. Okay, new level, an extra disc. Now I have up to 3 discs per pyramid. Could have less, and it's on the board. See, I'm hitting them once, but if I hit them twice, it changes to a different color. So now I have to hit all the pyramids at least twice. Change to the proper color. Oh, you. Now remember, he changes them back to the original color. And you suck. That was close. Now, while the board is frozen, you are safe. I better get the hell out of there. That's essentially the game. And with many things like this... Thank you. Guess I got points from him. Oh, that's not the first time you'll see him this board. No. He will be back. I tell you. And that's what keeps the game going. You get little distractions like that. And that's what makes the game much harder. So you think, oh, big deal. You're just avoiding red balls and purple balls and coily and hugs and wrong ways and whatever like that. And you have to catch squares at least one more time. And it just prolongs the agony. So, there you go. See, a little green guy could have easily made things much worse by going all the way up there, because that's where they start, at the top. Get to what you said there in just a second there. Then? Broken. Yes, actually. It may have been. Like I said, this was a pure accident as to why Hubert is gibberish. And that's because of the fact they couldn't get the stupid speech chip to sound right. It practically sounded like it had a potential head cold whenever it spoke. So, like, bonus was bogus. And, well, this is their first entry. This is their very first arcade game as opposed to a pinball table. I guess they just want to do it right. 10 years too soon to try? Well, I tell you, there are some fascinating stories about the developing emerging technologies or what they experimented with. And one game that comes immediately to mind is Tapper. Tapper is a game that was made by Bally Midway. It was made by Bally Midway. I just did that. Wow, good job. And they used a video camera for their game. And what was going to happen was that you would become the hero of the game. Dumbass. Yeah, I just did that. Anyway, what I was about to say. Now we're going to use a camera. You would be the hero. It would take your picture. You sit on a bar stool, and it would take your picture. You became the hero of the game, per se. Well, some gentleman decided to stand up on the stool and unzip. And unfortunately, it caught something that they really couldn't use in public display. And they kind of had to can that effort once that happened, because, you know, it takes only one person to ruin something around here, you know? Now, if I hit these, it will change color and then keep changing back. Isn't that neat? So, they kept the game, but they changed it and made it Journey. And Journey, the rock band, you know, Steve Perry and all them. But, like I said, it only took one person. Oh, yeah. Oh, you suck, Sam. F you. Now I have to see where to go. Yep. Saw that coming. This game's so easy to lose your momentum, too. Yeah, good job. And I'm supposed to be out of lives. I'm not sure what's going on here. But I do not have... Oh, you know what? This is my dip. This is my dip set. Yep. So we can play this game forever. Some games have natural cheats with dip switch settings. I'll show you about that in a second. It's mostly for the programmer. Moon Patrol had one too. So they use the likeness of the band Journey, and that would be it would be an interesting game, some shooter of sorts. There you go. But the game was okay. But I love the idea of what they would try to do. You know, they superimpose your face on the hero of the game. God, it got me in mid-jump. Wow. Hey, good job. I just reset the board back to the beginning. You effing moron. Alright. Forgot what color I'm supposed to be doing. So as far as the speech, gibberish and all that thing, that's just the way it works. It's just the way it works. Now, some games actually did speak, by the way, with speech chip generator. They would finally get it right about maybe a year or two later. Alright. Suck. You suck. Really? Now, see, he was actually doing me a favor because he was flipping back to the alternate color. Beep. Yeah, I did that. I really did that. By the way, the green ball and Sam only appear sooner or later. Wow. One of these days, Coily will come down. There he is. So as you can see, this is not an easy game. It can actually be quite painful. You suck. Nonetheless, by the way, watch the coronation of King Charles III. Nope, nope. So I'm now minus 11 lives. You're collecting coins with Hubert? Well, I would have loved it on the arcade machine, Vin, honestly. It's certainly a different game. And like with other pinball manufacturers, you suck, Sam. Okay? Oh, well, there you go. Finally. Like with other pinball manufacturers, they decided to get their hands in the into the video game business as opposed to just simply make pinball tables. Because they saw the writing on the wall. This will ultimately replace pinball tables. And to their credit, they were largely correct. They're much smaller to fit in the room. You fit more of them as a result. They were easier to maintain because I have to tell you, I've helped maintain pinball tables with my brother. And I do consider them... Good Lord, Sam, do you have anything else to do? As they are beautiful to look at and they're incredible to play, they do require high maintenance. You have to keep waxing the board, the table, in other words. That was close. Oh, you son of a... We're here, not so much. You have a television tube inside of a box. Some electronics and speakers, and I'm oversimplifying that indeed, but that's essentially what it was. Oh, you son of a... Have to go up there. You can see the headache emerging. There are 9 of these levels, by the way. Now we have an interesting little bit here. We have a tertiary color. You have to turn them blue. Fortunately, that only happens, they don't return back to green unless Sam, of course, hits one. Then you just want to kill the machine. And he turns green, so I do want to kill the machine. They have those hypnotizing discs all scattered through. Oh, that's right. I love this. Love it when they're at the top. Sam, you suck. Oh, I might as well get the points. Oh. So theoretically, if you look at it this way, some of these levels will never end because the challenge is so insane. I'm just going to start throwing some red balls at me. Yep. Give us your coins. Oh yeah. Most certainly did. Because I'm going through, I have a dip switch setting that allows me to play infinitely. Which is kind of cool. If you want to show it off, and like I said, they did this for programmers so they can just simply show off the game. The potential. There's another dip switch setting in here that will automatically advance you to the board. I believe I actually have it set. I do. How about that? And then you can just keep playing on and on and on. I believe that's the same dip switch that's doing this. Basically, it's in a playable test mode. And by the way, the characters just get faster and faster as each progressive level comes by. Now, I never could get past level 3, by the way. I see Vin has picked up on the Q sound. Q minus its U makes that sound instead of qua. Yeah, this is... Oh, what's that? Start button? Okay. I appreciate it, Ben. I'm glad you're into this. Thank you. I think this is a vertical sync issue. I might have to actually look. Playing on my faux Pac-Man. Hey! No, of course. I took Tessie out right before stream, too. But of course. Now, of course, here I have to hit it numerous times. And now it goes back to its original tertiary color. You can see this is quite maddening. Of course, then you get, every few seconds, a Sam coming down, wrecking your life. So this game was quite challenging. I have to admit, Gottlieb did a wonderful job with this game. It is cute, quirky. I'm a little surprised that Milton Bradley did not make a board game, because they made a board game of every other frickin' arcade game, like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, even Centipede somehow. Defender? Oh, Dusty, hello. That's what he's doing. None of the last says he's in the window. Yeah, our dog's a bit of a Gladys Kravitz. If you're not familiar with that character, that would be Samantha Stevens' neighbor on Bewitched. Abner! So we tell Dusty to stop Gladysing. It's an old reference. I'm an old guy, I'm gonna tell you. Yeah! I can't believe I just did what I did. Take a look at what the change to color is, and look what I did. I turned them all back to yellow. Oh, you dork. That's why you have to pay attention to the stupid arrows up there at the top. I was like, why isn't it celebrating? Well, because... Hey, you know what? I deserve this. Yeah. Well, I can't jump off, can I? No, because I got nothing but discs all around me. Oh yeah, level 5 is insane. Differences between level 5 and level 6, 7, 8, and 9 is that the SAM comes down a little bit faster, a little bit more frequent, and you just get faster and faster. But right now, you know, you land on a square, it turns into a tertiary, land it again, turns into an original color, land it again, it turns into its correct color. So, yeah, I cannot believe I did that. I turned the frickin' pyramid into the wrong color. Good job, Skip. Then I have to go up there to that square. Of course, you're not going to land there. All these are already correct, so now I'm going to make them incorrect. Then frickin' Sam comes down. Sam, I hate you. I really do. So you can imagine how insane this game gets. I have not seen too many people get up to this level. I did see, however, a young lady not too long ago on Twitch playing the NES version, which is very similar to this. I'm looking at this. How the hell am I going to do this? They keep switching it back. It really doesn't matter, does it? It really doesn't matter. So you know what? I'll join Let's see how that count up to 40. There we go. That's fitting. I think we're going to wrap it up here. There's that purple ball that's bigger than the other balls. Yeah, good job, Sam. Just go on. I had to. There was also another game that featured Hubert, another movie I should say. It was called Pixels. I happen to like the premise of what Pixels was. I just didn't like the implementation so much. I did, however, like what's his face, Peter Dinklage, playing a Billy Mitchell-esque persona. I found that rather hilarious, especially since I met Billy Mitchell. But all right, I think we have enough. This game's never going to end. That's the arcade version of Q*bert. As I said, it's a good game. King of Kong? Oh, let's see. The King of Kong was actually a documentary. It was featuring... yeah, Billy Mitchell was in that. You're right about that. King of Losers / Cheers. Allegedly. King of Kong was a documentary. It featured a gentleman by the name of Steve Wiebe, who was challenging the current champion, then it was Billy Mitchell, of the title of the King of Kong. In other words, the high score of Donkey Kong. And this is where people literally just, get hundreds and hundreds of points playing the game. They're doing all kinds of crazy things. Jumping over barrels, going down to a level below, jumping over them again, so forth, so on. And it was just, it was interesting to see their techniques, but it kind of de-evolved into something else. And about not only the legitimacy of the scoring, the legitimacy of the recording, and the legitimacy of the gaming. And there was some problems that came about with that, and I invite you to go see the movie. I'm pretty sure you can find it somewhere on the internet. But it is fascinating. And ultimately, at the very, very end, they actually show you, or one of the extras rather, they show you the two games side by side, Billy Mitchell's and Steve Weeby's Donkey Kong. They have very similar techniques, but there was something not quite right. And you'll get to see that if you see the movie. Okay, so let's go ahead and disembark from the arcade. Thank you, Qbert. Appreciate it. And let's go to Ye Old Arcade. The home arcade. Now, everyone had an Atari 2600. I think that's safe to say back in the day. Which is one of the reasons why you saw a lot of game manufacturers make stuff for Atari. And this includes Mattel. They made their own console, the Intellivision. But they also made games for the Atari 2600. Coleco, another toy maker. They made games for their own system, ColecoVision. But they also made games for the Atari. And that was kind of a common thing. Other game manufacturers were making games for the Atari. Reason? Because they wanted to sell. They're trying to convince you to buy their system, but just in case you don't want to, here, we'll make the game for your system as well. And that's kind of what happened. And so, Atari 2600 got all those ports. But some of them were good. Some of them were not so good. And that's just the way it works. Let's see if I can find it real fast. I got a lot of stuff up on the screen I just noticed. Which just makes it a little tougher. There it is. Now, if you play the Atari 2600 version, they actually give you instructions to turn your controller where the red button, that's your fire button, is at the top. And that's how you can play the game in its correct diagonal form. How ingenious. Because you have a square controller. So make it a diamond. And it actually played pretty well. But let's see how well it played. So let's go ahead and get into the console. Oh, hello. I've got a phone call here. Okay, let me go ahead and... Hello? Let me put you on speaker. Hello, how are you?
I'm hanging in, not doing so great, but I was popping over to see how you're doing. And
okay, I'm doing just fine. We're playing a little bit of Qbert.
I don't see you playing anything. I see your happiness personified.
Well, we caught you.
More squawk. Come on, let's talk more play.
Let's talk more play. Well, I am telling about how these games came about and such like that. This is something of a...
Why don't you play them first, and then you can tell about them?
Yes, dear. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Well, I'm under the weather,
yes.
So I'm not in a very good mood these days. I'm hoping this bacterial infection just disappears and everything will be back to normal.
Well, I'm pretty sure it'll be back to normal soon. I hope you feel better.
Well, I am holding you to that. Or we'll be playing the Wolverine game. Oh, I actually like Wolverine. I don't suppose you have that game.
The X-Men game? Yeah, I actually do have that game, yeah.
Where Mark Hamill is Wolverine?
Or Mark Hamill's Wolverine? That would be the beat-em-up game. I do have that, yes.
Yes.
Yes. I do have it.
Wow.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay. I just realized with this illness, I actually sound like Fran Fine the nanny. Listen.
Yeah. Okay. I disagree. I think you sound... Well...
At any rate, I was watching the coronation.
Oh, that's right. You were. I mentioned that to chat just a few moments ago.
Well, can't miss what's going on at home.
That's right. All right.
Despite the fact that it is King Chuck.
Hey, he is His Majesty.
He is His Majesty,
King
but I
Charles.
prefer His Majesty, King William. Anyway,
that will be in the future.
I will let you go. Now
Yep.
be good, or I may have to call you again.
I'll be good. I promise. Okay.
Alrighty.
All right. Feel better.
Toodaloo. Oh, by the way, what are you playing?
I'm playing Hubert. Thanks for. Really?
Well, I don't see anything on the screen but your face.
Well, I'm talking to you, aren't I?
Fine.
Bye bye. I love you.
I love you too.
All right. Bye bye. Okay. Let's go to the console. Let's go to the console, shall we? Okay. There's the specs in there. She's actually in the other room. So let's take a look at this. This is it's the specs of the game, actually. Actually, a little bit of everything, actually. 1977 Atari. There it is. The CPU, the speaker. Video is rather low resolution, isn't it? But that's the way it was back in the day. The reason why we didn't start up the game simply because of the fact that it would start up. It starts up right away. So we'll just pause for a second. So there's your Hubert's pyramid. It's very similar to what we just saw in the arcade. Not quite as sharp, but it is what it is. So let's take a look. It starts off with a SAM right away too. Now you can use your A/B switch for difficulty levels. If you put it on B, you don't get any red balls. If you put it on A, you do get red balls, but you don't have any ugs nor wrong ways. You do have green balls in SAM. Basically, the rules are still the same. So it does have some minuses. Gameplay. The animation is not as animated either. It's almost like we're an LCD game. There you go. That's largely due to the limitations of what the Atari had. Remember, the arcade games had monster sizes of RAM versus the... Oh, there you go. And that's a little bit of a faux pas in this game. They usually don't appear together. I'll just do that. Squares are worth 25, just like the game. Discs, if you have them left over, are worth nothing. So you don't get any bonus points for that. Now, as you get to the different levels, you do find that you'll wind up playing in the same way, where you have to step on this cube at least more than once, twice, sometimes 3 times, depending on how far in the game you get. Game is a bit easier, resulting in the fact that there are 2 characters missing from the game. Of course, that would be Ugg and wrong way. So even in a hard setting like this, it's still an easy game. Now take a look. My score is in a different color, which means now I have to turn it to the score color. Therefore, there's tertiary. So this is now level 2. You don't get to the glorious introduction screen as you would in the arcade game. Again, memory limitations. Wait, he was quite hesitant to jump off that pyramid. This Quailing might be a little bit smarter than the arcade version. Just maybe. Also, the saucers, nice, which are more representative like lines in this game. They are pretty much in the same spot each and every time. Now I have a bunch of them. I got an extra life. Sam, you suck. So, like I said, if you were playing at home and you really liked Hubert, chances are you did, and it was quite popular, this chances are is the version you will have at your disposal. But some kids actually had the second generation of gaming. It would be the ColecoVision, the Atari 5200. You suck. So I say, watch it drop right there. Nope. Still have 5 saucers. Really? So we'll take a look at those in just a second. Sometimes you have to slow down because you don't know where those balls are going to be jumping, especially in this game. You're getting limited animation. Alright. Take advantage of this. Okay. Iggy the Human, how you doing? Welcome aboard. Thanks for joining in. I'm playing a little bit of Q*bert here. In fact, I saw something typically not supposed to happen. Coily was waiting for me at the top. Yo, how you doing, man? Happy Saturday to you. Saturday is what it is at your time of the world there. Right now, where I'm at is 12:51 p.m. Eastern Daylight. That's right. Likewise, excellent. We're comparing the arcade game Q*bert from Gottlieb, and we're taking a look at the home versions, most of which were made by a company called Parker Brothers. Parker Brothers was mostly known for board games. And I promised I'd talk to Vin about Monopoly in just a second. Monopoly was indeed a Parker Brothers game as well. It was originally published by them. They did make an NES version. That was, I believe, the first video game version was the Nintendo Entertainment Systems. I might be wrong. Could be Sega Master System because they both came in the same year. But it took the third generation of gaming in order to get a Monopoly game. So yes, there it is. One more time. So if you haven't seen the Atari 2600's version of Q*bert, this was a very popular... Really? This was a really popular game made by Parker Brothers. They made it for various consoles. They even made a tabletop version. And boy, the merchandising, lunchboxes, little plastic toys, bubblegum cartons and such. And pretty much goes down there in the classic, like the annals of Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, Dig Dug, a few others. A lot of pinball manufacturers were really getting into the... Watch this. Hey! Yeah, you suck. We're getting into the video game business because they just happened to see their pinball sales decline. Dig Dug was glorious. Oh, yes. Atari brought that over for Namco, because Namco didn't publish titles yet in North America. But I happen to love Dig Dug. I think we may have already done an arcade versus console on Dig Dug over. I did a test video when I was first kind of seeing how Twitch works last fall. It'll be on my YouTube page. It's there. I will visit it one of these days because they did make some arrangement versions. In the arcades, they had a Namco Classics Volume 2. And that featured 3 games. It featured Pac-Man, Dig Dug, and Rally X. I'll get into Rally X in a little bit. But the remastered versions were actually pretty damn cool. And the Pac-Man arrangement you can actually find in the Pac-Man collection for the Game Boy Advance. They made a bunch of years ago. I think Namco Museum for the PS2 and onward had it as well. But Dig Dug also had an arranged version, and it was pretty sweet. It was pretty damn hard, too, because there were some Figars, those were the dragons. Oh, okay, so you're familiar with Rally X. Very good. So here's the scoop of Rally X. Back in 1980, they were having a video game show. I think it was CES. And they debuted a bunch of video games. Williams debuted Defender. And that's a whole nother story. But Midway unveiled 2 games. Pac-Man and Rally X. And everybody just clamored over Rally X. I thought it was fun, sophisticated, quirky. It was the darling of the show. Pac-Man was too simple. It was too childlike. And Williams, oh, that was so close. Oh, I got it. Okay. And Defender was just too damn hard. And it was, too. It really was. He practically had to have 3 hands to play this stupid game. But I loved it. Oh, it's a great game. I love the sounds and the graphics and everything like that. Well, they predictably chose Rally X as the game of 1980. And I mention Rally X from time to time, and people will commonly ask me, huh? What the hell is that? And when you play Tekken and all that, you know, you play it against your buddies. Play it against your buddies. Oh, thank you. You sometimes see the symbols, you know, as you have a winning streak, and you see that flag with the S on it, and that, of course, came from Rally X. People thought that was like a special thing or whatever like that. Nope, that's just a Rally X symbol. Plain and simple. You really gonna... I have no idea why the Atari's doing that. Nevertheless, it was a good game. The original was pretty interesting. The remix was fantastic, but it never really got the attention that they thought it would. It didn't make a big splash. Ultimately, of course, Pac-Man would be the all-time champ of video games. It's the biggest quarter muncher, I should say, of all time. But that's another day, another story, another lesson, whatever you want to call it. So, that is the 2600 version. So, Parker Brothers, much like what Coleco would, they would make it for all kinds of systems. And they also had an Intellivision version. I believe there was an Odyssey version. If you're not familiar with the Odyssey, don't worry about it. But we're going to take a look at the 2600 version right now. In order to do that, I got to switch over to console, so I'm going to hit pause. We'll be right back. Stand by. By the way, there is a Facebook page that I'm part of, that I've joined. I'm not actually part of the management or anything like that, but I enjoy seeing what people have. They show off some of the wares that they have from the original days all the way up to the end of the century. That will be Retro Games Fan. Find that on Facebook. And as I said, we talk about everything: Vectrex, the ColecoVision, the Intellivision, the Fairchild. What the hell is that? We'll find out. And of course, arcade games galore, pinball games galore. Anything from the beginning of the video game world to pretty much the end of the last century, I should say, up to 1999. That means they even talk about Dreamcast stuff, because that goes there. Take a look at it. Check it out. If you don't mind, please. So, here we go. We're back to the console. Now, this is Cubert for the 5200. As you can see, it's a bit better looking. It has your classic cubes, and it actually has shading and everything like that. 5200 was a better system. This starts... Yeah, it was. It's a second generation console. I said, what the hell is the first generation? The Atari 2600, the Magnavox Odyssey 2 would be considered first generation. Of course, the Pong, Super Pong, those as well. There really isn't a whole lot to choose from. So when you say first generation, you're pretty much talking about the Atari for the most part. A lot of people didn't have that. Second generation would start off with things like the Intellivision, the ColecoVision, the Atari 5200, so forth. And I was testing out this game earlier today, and I discovered that because of the analog control, this game made some use of it, because if you saw the 5200 controller, it's the first analog controller, but it sucked. If you get a working one, a real good working one, it's actually fun to play with, but they break easily. And if you ever see it, actually had a number pad plus symbols, and a start button, and a pause button, a reset button. But that joystick was just killing. 2 fire buttons on each side of the controller. That joystick just really sucked. So we're going to go ahead and hit start. Sounds better, and I can't get him to move too well. That's why I'm doing that. can't get them to go up. So it's emulating the controller a little bit too well for my liking. I'm going to try to do the best I can. So the red balls and the purple balls, that turns into coily. Yep, you just wind up dying. When it actually works properly, when my controller actually wants to participate, it's actually quite good. But unfortunately, I really can't get this to work properly. You can hear me. Yeah. Well, that was neat. 475. So we're going to abandon this for a second. I can even pause it with the controller. Look at that. It's not pausing. Oh, it used to pause. Well, thanks a lot. I'll show you one in just a second. So I turn on the emulator, I put the inputs for this system, and there's all the buttons that you can use for that. And then, of course, you look at this. And you're like, holy cow, are you kidding me? Yeah, that's it. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't like it. And that's fine. I understand. It is better looking. It is better sounding, too, for the most part. So what I shall do instead, turning it off, I'm going to go plug in the 7800 now. Now, 7800 has a lot of homebrew games, which is fascinating considering that the system was not successful. Did not do well at all. It was Atari's answer to the NES. The NES, of course, made video games favorable again at the home after the video game crash in 1983. Nintendo literally begged, not I should say begged, they asked Atari. They literally said, hey Atari, we're making a new system. We want you to join us. And Atari's like, no, we're done with this. Please, no, we're done with this. Please, no. So, of course, then the NES was a success, and, well, there you go. So somebody homebrewed Qbert. Now, this is using 7800 technology, which is more or less a souped-up 2600 version. I see it looks pretty good. Sounds like garbage. But this is yesterday's technology with today's programming. This was made a few years ago. As you can see, it seems to be missing something. Yeah, I'm just waiting for all coiling. I'm gonna be waiting forever. Might be a dip switch setting. Knowing this thing. Really? Yeah, ties don't go to the player, huh? Let's see what I got here. Dip switches. Really? They're on hard. What if I make it easy? I see a problem already. I don't know if you can figure that out. Okay, so what if I make this that? Eh? Eh. It don't matter, does it? No, without coily, it really doesn't matter, does it? So I wonder if maybe Sam or the green ball is going to be... I doubt the green ball is going to be there because we've seen it by now. I severely doubt that Wrong Way and Ugg will be here. As you would have seen them by now, too. Although, they are pretty much dropping at a pretty fast rate, yeah. Oh, well. Let's move on to the ColecoVision, shall we? That's too bad about 5200. Like I said, if you have one, I have one. It's a great machine, really is. Some games were better on other systems than that, but then, you know, like I'd say the Coleco version of Popeye, for example, I thought was better on than the 5200 version. But that's me. So let's see what we got here. I see a screen. I do see a screen. How about that? Fantastic. Okay, much like with any of the ColecoVision's games, you have your skill level choice, game 1 through 6. So 1 being easiest, 6 being hardest. Because we are wimps here on my channel, we of course will choose 1. Ooh, much better sounding. Much better looking, too. And we got a coily! Yay! Long overdue. Yeah, I did, didn't I? I did. Good job, Skip. Doesn't seem to move as fast as the arcade game. That's not really a bad thing per se. Collision's about right. Rules seem to be okay so far. Let's see how he does with this. Ooh, even with the green flash. Excellent. This one looks kind of weird. Well, this is the ColecoVision. Now, Coleco actually advertised if you want an arcade at home, get a ColecoVision. Yeah, frame rate is less. Again, the arcade consoles had much more memory. I mean, if you consider 10K a lot more memory, that tells you how little memory the home consoles had. A lot of those Atari 2600 games, for example, were 1K. So, having said that, and plus, this is Parker Brothers. This is not the actual Gottlieb company making this game. And with, like, most of the ports, they don't have cooperation from the actual original manufacturer. And they just really buy the arcade game, play around with it, kind of see how the game mechanics play, and program accordingly. There is a wrong way. Well, that's more of an UGG. I imagine, for memory's sake, they're probably just going to keep them both looking the same. So in other words, they look like aliens from Area 51 in purple. Oh, that was way too soon. Let's try that one. Yay. What? No satisfying thud? Now, I had a ColecoVision back in the day. I did have this game as well. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Did I stop playing the 2600 version? Yeah, I kind of did. Being a game collector, though, you just kind of, bought for what you had. And I got a ColecoVision after I got the keyboard for the Atari 2600. That's how it works sometimes. And even with the level screens. Excellent. Some Atari ports are bad? Well, yeah. They did the best they could. There are some games that actually turned out surprisingly well. For example, Centipede for the Atari 2600 was actually amazing to play. It looked like crap, but it played extremely well. And they were wondering how you're going to do that because the game orientation, the arcade game is vertical, much like this one. So you're going to play it horizontally. How will that work? Well, they managed a way to find out. They even made a trackball for the Atari 2600, which made the game even better to play, I will admit. But there are some games for the... oh, I can't believe I did that. Idiot. There are some games for the 2600 that were not that good at all. And surprisingly, Sam, you suck. Surprisingly, one of them was Congo Bongo, and that was a Sega-made game. Yes, that's Sega. They made the arcade game as well, but they made the 2600 port. And it pretty much was bad. I'm going to say that now. And if you're not familiar with Congo Bongo, don't worry about it. It's kind of like a Donkey Kong-like game where you have to reach to the top of the board and, you know, thwart the perils of Congo Bongo himself. Don't wait for that, really. Ooh. Oh, watch out for your eyes, kids. Like a bad disco board there. Again, I gotta pay attention to the colors. I can't believe... before you got here, Iggy, I actually was playing it where it was a tertiary thing. And I actually completed the pyramid, but it was the wrong color. I was like, really? I just did that, didn't I? Yes, I did. Good job, Skip. That's why they have arrows even pointing to the damn thing. See them? That's what I get for not paying attention. It's easy to do this, and it's easy to do that on this game. Actually, yeah, I probably would too. Something that would make you quit. It's frustrating, especially when you have like every 10 seconds Sam coming over there and changing everything back to the original color. And it never really clicked in my tiny little brain that, you know what, maybe I'm doing this wrong. Oh, Sam. Well, I got my life back. And there's no Coily. Ta-da! I always like the darkened pyramids. They look kind of cool. Even the Atari 2600 version. Okay, Sam. We have something better to do. He did. Thought I did that a little too soon. Apparently not. Yep. So I will say this. Folks at Parker Brothers did a marvelous job with this one. This would easily pass for a comparable arcade version. Not as sophisticated in the... Sam, I swear to God. Shut up. Didn't ask you. Somebody's trying to message me. Ah! Now for the ColecoVision, they also made the sequel, Cubert's Cubes. And it turned out to be pretty good. Very similar to the arcade game. ColecoVision probably had some of the better arcade translations. I'm going to give that as a given. Oh, that's right. If you bounce on them, they revert back to the original color. Fantastic. We're going to be here for a while. So you guys have anything for lunch, whatever like that, this is a good time to have it. Any sandwiches or pizza. Wouldn't mind a pizza right now. Good old New York. Sam. Go play pole position or something, will you? Killing me. Killing me. So, green. I'm going to go back all the way over here, because I'm an idiot. And then pretty much contemplate the errors of my ways. Yep. I believe that's it. Sure is. How about that? Not too bad. Not too bad. And it just sits there, and there's no attract mode. It is, after all, a home version. And it just pretty much lets you know that you're a failure as the color continues to change in the background as some sort of screensaver. Because screen burn-in was quite the thing back in those days. But I digress. This was a fantastic version. This stands up very easily against the arcade version. Park Brothers, they hands off to them. They made excellent versions of a lot of their games. One of my favorite games they actually made was a Star Wars game. And a constant reminder that even games failure is an option. Absolutely. And this is a good option. this failure here. They made a Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back game. You were a snow speeder, and you pretty much are trying to destroy the AT-ATs before they reach the base. And it's a very simple game. Graphics are, nothing to write home about. But the gameplay was just absolutely fantastic. They also happened to make the other Gottlieb game that made it for the Atari, Reactor. If you haven't played that, that's a pretty good game to check out. The home version was pretty decent. The arcade version is outstanding. But sadly, Gottlieb did not last long in the arcades, per se. They stuck to pinball. And they merged with another company called Premier. And they pretty much sailed into the 90s, all the way to about maybe towards the mid-90s, and they kind of gave up after that point. A lot of pinball manufacturers stopped as we head into this current century. But that's the way it goes. So, here we go. We're going to turn this off. We're going to show something a little bit out of the ordinary. So, therefore, we're going to go to our chatting page. Me. 'Tis I. So, Parker Brothers, like I said, they made toys. They made games. Most renowned for, Monopoly and such. But remember that LED thing? Well, we just happen to have that here. I was stunned that MAME now emulates just about anything with a circuit. So, things like Simon. You remember that matching sound game from, let's say it's from Parker Brothers. I believe it's Milton Bradley. Well, they made one of those too. So, let me see. I'm going to see if I can get this without having start the game immediately, because it will. There it goes. Let's go over to it right now. See if I can find it. There it is. Now check this out. This is not a console per se, but it was treated like such because of the fact that, Coleco and Parker Brothers made arcade games for the tabletop. They call them tabletop arcades. And so you take a look at this thing. There's your pyramid. There is a orange turtle with a ball on it. That's Cubert. You have to use your imagination. Let's see how this plays. Okay, you got red balls. Oh, one's a coily. How about that? Okay, so a very slow coily. Okay, and it goes sideways off the side. That's cute. I like that. I, alas, did not have one of these. I did not have one of these. I have the Pac-Man, the Donkey Kong, Ms. Pac-Man, Frogger, and Galaxian. But I never got one of these. I didn't get Donkey Kong Jr. from Coleco either. But I have most of them. This would have been cool to have, I have to admit. And for what it's worth, not everyone could afford an Atari. Not everyone could afford a ColecoVision. But these were more or less affordable. But they sure were popular then too. Could you imagine if we have today's technology and these little things? And I know on the retro games page I mentioned for Facebook, they have actually converted some of those Coleco tabletops with an actual LCD screen and an emulator. Because why not? They can become that small. After all, if they can make Tiny Arcade a playable game, why not? They can do that to this as well. Oh, didn't move fast enough. Now, there's some rotten examples of these, too. They actually did make a dig dug of this, more or less. And it sucked. Oh, the tertiaries. There they are. Ah! I have no idea what that is. Oh, you know what? That's the changing. That must be Sam. Okay. Interesting. Ah! Oh! Yep. That's Sam. Sam, you suck in this game too, huh? Huh. And I have a disc up there at the top. So I did kind of have a hard time imagining how this would play. I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't get it, and I couldn't really play it as a demonstration, so I just simply didn't get one. Kind of wish I did, though. But I had so many other things. Oh, that's it. Okay, thank you. How cute. How absolutely adorable. I like that. I really do like that. Okay. So what do you all think? Would you have bought this? Let's say you had the money to buy this. They range anywhere between $30 to $80 per month, because it depends on when you bought it. That's why it varied quite a bit. No. No? Okay. You would not have bought this, huh? Most likely, yeah. And I have to admit. Now, it looks like a ripoff. Well, it was officially licensed. This is a licensed game. Parker Brothers did make this. Coleco made this a thing that was popular. And if you recall, when they introduced... Let's see, do we have it here? Yeah, we have it here. That. That's wrong. We'll just look at the demo real quickly without the scoring. Okay, so this is Pac-Man. This is what Coleco made. This is their first foray into this. This and Galaxian were the first two. As annoying as this sounds, because my dad hated this game with a passion. He loved the original, but he hated this because of the siren, if you want to call it such. But this, it looked like the arcade game as far as, the actual unit. Oh, good lord. He hated Galaxian even more because it practically screamed at you when the ships started diving for you. But this sold a ton of them. You can still find these out there today. I have two of them. Reason why? Because one of them has a broken joystick, so I replaced it. Alright, enough of that. So, for your Nintendo. Now, here we are years later. Geez, yeah, Galaxian may have had a run for its money with annoying sounds. Galaxian did. Now, Galaxian was cool because it actually had a head-to-head. Coleco was big on the head-to-head. You saw those LCD handhelds like head-to-head football and head-to-head baseball. They had a lot of that. So, they had head-to-head on the arcade games as well. They had head-to-head Pac-Man, as we saw the two Pac-Man there at the bottom. And they had head-to-head Galaxian. And with ships in between, it was almost like you were playing Gyrus, because the ships would come after you or the other player, and you would also shoot the other player as well. It's really cool. Yes, the dimension piercings. Basically, it got to the point where dogs started hearing it before humans. And I noted when they emulated the Galaxian for current version of MAME, the ear-piercing sounds are not there because they weren't really put out by a chip. It was actually put out by a Bezo speaker. And mercifully, they can't emulate that, so thank goodness. But it had Midway Invaders, which was Space Invaders. That was really cool. That was my favorite thing on that one. And it wasn't ear-piercing. Continuing with our gaming cavalcade of Hubert. everyone started now. The NES comes out. It's basically the second coming of video games to the home. It revitalized everything, and so all these classics started appearing on this as well. And I found that rather fascinating. So games like Joust made its way, Defender 2, which Stargate made its way, of course Pac-Man made its way. In Japan, in the Famicom, even Dig Dug and Galaxian made its way to the Famicom through Namcot, Namcot, which was the home version of Namco. Here they would be brought out by either Tengen or Bandai. So, why not Qbert? As I said before, Gottlieb pretty much had given up the game by this point. They merged with Premiere. They're no longer in video games, and they were co-owned by Columbia Pictures at the time. Of course, Sony bought them, so there's a lot of licensing confusion with this one too. Ultra Games, which is Konami, put out Qbert. And of course, they had to acknowledge all the licenses. So let's take a look at this. Now, would people play Qbert after all these years, after the video game crash, and did they actually make it good? Because, honestly, I thought Joust on the NES sucked. To be honest. I was very disappointed with it. So, would some of the other games fare better? Like Pac-Man for the NES was brilliant. Gauntlet, it was okay. And we played that around, too. So there it is. There's the licensing. 1983, Milestar, which is Rat Slime backwards. Remember that. All rights reserved. Trademark use granted to Konami under license from JVW Electronics, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, yeah, there was a lot of that. Let's play. There he is. Ultra Games. Konami Industry, and there actually has an attract mode. Doesn't look as cute. He could have looked as cute. Sounds cute. Push start key. Will do. Oh, now check this out. So they want to show you how to use a controller. Now in the Atari days, they say, you know what, just tilt your controller 45 degrees and where the button's at the top. Well, you can't do that with Nintendo. It's kind of awkward that way, I think. So, upright. Is this okay? And we hit yes for it? Yeah. And down right? Yeah, that's good. And down left? Sure. Up left? Absolutely. This one? Yeah. Okay, let's go. Konami was actually pretty cool in the sound department, I will have to admit. Everyone loved Metal Gear. Well, not necessarily the game, but certainly its sounds. And everyone, who played Contra, games that required that 30-man code, Konami code. Oh, that was a gamble. Yay! Of course, they had Gyrus, which was a really cool game as well. Gyrus was like Galaga on drugs. Oh, I didn't get a chance. Turned around, but he didn't have enough time to jump out. That's close. It's funny, the least cute character of all this is Qbert himself, isn't that something? Oh, you suck. Ooh, I'll take it. Hurry. Now, some of the other home games, they actually used the similar sprites to that of the arcade version. And still better last control? Console? Yeah. Well, here we have a definition for console. Console is anything with interchangeable media. So, like, Game Boy, technically, in our eyes, is a console. Why? Because it took cartridges. Where, like, a Game & Watch from Nintendo, similarly technology, you know, they had LED screens and whatever. But it is not a console simply because of the fact that there is no interchangeable medium. It's just a one-and-done thing. So anything from Tiger Electronics practically is not a console. Thank God. Not that I'm saying anything's wrong with Tiger games. If you like them, fantastic. If you didn't, good for you on that too. But they're not consoles. But they could use the same sprites from their arcade counterpart. Pac-Man's a good example. Of course, it's kind of hard to fudge that one. Oh, they did find a way. But have you ever seen the Dig Dug for the Famicom? They could use the same sprites that they did for the arcade game. They did marvelously. Some of these are actually cuter. And Sam's still a pain in the ass. Oh, you suck. Yeah, I'm ignoring you. The sounds are so damn cute on this game, though. Yes, it is. A lot better than the original, I have to admit. Sam, we'll find something else to do. Ah. My only gripe about this game is it takes that little... Yeah, so that kind of... It takes that little second for him to turn and face in his position. In the arcade game, it took no time at all. It just happened. But that's just one of the things. So when you... Oh, really? Alright. Minor setback. Let's get rid of this one. Hey, I got an extra life, yay! Okay. I was actually kind of grateful for this game for the NES because it's a different era. NES, you know, again revitalized games, but games to change by this point, and that's largely due to games like Super Mario Brothers itself, you know, the one that came packed in with the unit. And arcade games got more sophisticated and, of course, harder and whatever. Oops. But these classic games, they still got kind of reintroduced to a new market, even though it's the next generation after. Because this is now Generation 3. Strangely enough, the Super Nintendo had one. They call it Q*bert 3. And you're probably, why is it Q*bert 3? Because remember, Q*bert Cubes, the second game, came out. I agree with Vin. He mentioned earlier. That was stupid of me. They could have called it Q*bert Squared, but no, they call it Cubes. Because they were actually cubes that he was riding on. Or landing on, I should say. That would have been a great play on the title. Oh, landed on the wrong one. Oh! Guessed wrong. Oh! No play for square like cube becoming cube. Oh, I can continue. That's a new feature. That would have been nice. Imagine continuing on the arcade game where you left off. I should have saw that coming. Nope, nope. Good job. So as I talk about this real fast, does this hold up to the arcade version? Indeed it does, even though it's a different generation. It holds it very nicely, as a matter of fact. It's just as difficult. It actually sounds better. Has all the gameplay you could ever want, and it's just as annoying as ever. So yeah, I dare say. You gotta remember also, the arcade games themselves, they could cost anywhere between $2,000 to $4,000 back in this particular day and age. So, your alternative, of course, you buy a $2,000 machine, or do you buy a Nintendo Entertainment System and a $30 cartridge? Oop. Oh, you suck. I was glancing at that, what you said there, Iggy. I'll get to that in just a second. We'll pause here for a second. Let's see, you put in a lot there. You and Vin both. I was introduced to video games by Nintendo 64. Ah, very good, okay. So that give an idea what games were influential. Classic games like Rally X, Galaga, Bosconian. I love that game, yes. Mappy, oh, I love Mappy too. Good stuff. You like the classics. I love it. Glad I found it. A victory for NES, not really a surprise compared to some on the Atari. Addressing Iggy first, you came at a really good point in video games as far as development, because we breached the binary code. We're no longer dealing with the 256 or 255 rather limitation. Classic games. I used to have I worked for a video game retailer for a long time. Rhymes with lame flop, and one of my coworkers noticed that I hang around all the classic games. We used to go to a really large arcade that housed over 1,000 games, but I'd always hung around the classics like Galaga, Ms. Pac-Man, Centipede, and so forth. And he would be over there playing Street Fighter Alpha, Mortal Kombat, that type of thing. So kind of give you where we are as far as the timeline. And he's like, why do you keep playing these games? I said, because that's what I play. I love these games. And I did play Tekken. I did play, Soul Edge and Mortal Kombat to some degree. And some of the shooters like Virtual Cop and all them. But I still hung around the classics because those are the games I love. I'm from that generation. You'd better believe it. My childhood was in the borderline between classic and modern. Exactly. You are right there where you get to see both sides of the fence. You get to see the crap that we were playing in the past, and you had a lot to look forward to in the future. And I'll get into the future in just a second. But you came at a good time. And so they discovered, and Williams was the first to do this, they actually released for DOS 3.1. That's how far back this goes. Back in 1994, a Williams Classics arcade, and it was the first time an emulator was commercially packaged. It was done by Digital Eclipse, the same people who make a lot of it now too. And it was great seeing Defender, Stargate, Joust, Sinistar, all your favorite games from Williams, in a commercial package. And that caught on. Namco made Namco Museum. They made 5 discs versions for the PlayStation. They each contained at least 6 games. Unfortunately, they were not emulated, they were simulated, but still they reintroduced a lot of those games, like Pac-Man, Bosconian, Super Pac-Man, the actual sequel to Pac-Man, not Ms. Pac-Man. I'll go to that in a second. And a lot of their other games, like I want to say Dragon Warrior. Dragon Warrior is something else, but you get the idea. And then Atari started making them. Atari was done through a company called Infogrames, who now is Atari. And they released all their classics. Then Konami did. Nintendo never really did that. They did it in a different style. But they did it like, if you had Donkey Kong 64, there was a Donkey Kong arcade cabinet somewhere in the game, and you can go up there and play it, and it's the original Donkey Kong. As far as then, going to you, a victory for NES, not surprised compared to some of the Atari. Nintendo had quality control over their games, over the games being produced for it. In fact, they did it a little too well and got sued for it. You couldn't run a game past Nintendo without their okay. A couple things they didn't have, you were never attacked from the back in this era, and there were no overly religious symbols. That was two of their big rules. But if they didn't like your game, it wouldn't go onto the Nintendo Entertainment Systems. They did actually have a quality control of sorts, where Atari did not. And anyone could make anything for the Atari, unfortunately. But Nintendo also had a proviso that if you made a game for their system, you could not make that same game for any other console for 2 years. Was the Wii becoming shovelware? We actually had that too. Yeah, we had a lot of crap on it. But again, Wii was extremely popular. It did very well. Atari was extremely popular. It did very well. NES was extraordinarily popular. It did extremely well. And so everyone wanted to make a game for it. And they brought back some of these classics as well. But that was the catch on that. Gladys, get out of there. That's my hound dog, my Rhodesian Ridgeback. He's fine now. Blackmouth cur. His name is Dusty. He's kind of nosy. He likes looking through the window. Iggy the human says, "Oh yes." He kind of, you know what? Honestly, he's 12, so he's getting white in the face. Kind of looks like that. Just add a little brown around the eyes and such, and he looks almost exactly like that. How about that? Now, as far as the future, well, gee whiz, just not too long ago, Atari released the Atari 50th Celebration Package. With a lot of their games going from back in the arcade days to Computer War, Pong, through the consoles, the 2600, the 200, 7800, the Lynx, and even the Jaguar. So, this stuff still sells. Nintendo does it differently, though. They're the only company I've ever seen that does this. They sell the same game over and over again. Let's get back to this real quickly. I'm getting in lecture mode, and that's... Or I can just jump right into the red ball like an idiot. So, take Super Mario Brothers. You got that with your console. Trade-in value of that game, by the way, from Lame Flop's point of view, was anywhere between nothing to about 25 cents. Cool. Well, you're going to get one. That's the problem of being a historian. You kind of want to tell stories. So you didn't get much for that original cartridge that you got with your NES, because it was just common. Everyone had one. It was a one-to-one game, after all. One-to-one means every one console, one game is sold for it. Very rare it happens, but it happened with that one. So when the Virtual Console came out, and the Game Boy Advance came out, and the eStore came out, well, you can buy it there too. It's the exact same game. The exact same 1985 game. And they just keep selling it, and reselling it, and reselling it, and reselling it at premium prices. This is astounding. But brand new generations of gamers are playing this stupid thing. And why not? It's a kick-ass game. I loved it. You probably loved it. Hell, even my mom loved it. No, she's in her 80s, for crying out loud. So, yeah. It's fun to see new kids play these games. It really is. And you Iggy, came at a really good time in gaming. To really be aware of these things. Because you got the PlayStation at your time. That was fairly new still. PlayStation 2 would yet to come out, which was an amazing system, I have to admit. Oh, I did it. Cool. I love PlayStation 2. And I was dumb enough to actually get imports of them, too. I actually have a Japanese PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and Saturn. I was that into it then. Now I'm like, I'm looking at, look at my checkbook. I'm like, no, not today. Sorry, maybe some other time. You got an extra life. Oh, this was a pain in the ass. Set of levels rather, because every time you step on it, it reverts back to the original color. I'll just do this forever. Where the hell's Coily? Not that I'm complaining. Just notice I'm turning everything back to the original color like a moron. That was quick. We got a little bit of extra time here. No, we're not going to continue. In fact, turning off now. Here, I'll show you. I love the NES version of Q*bert. It really was satisfying to play. They did a damn good job of it. Being one that played it religiously over at the... I played it a couple places. I said I played it over at Showbiz. And there was a mini arcade just down the street from me that had it. Arcades were all over the place back in those days. I'm going to say Galaga is my top favorite game of all time, tied with Super Mario 64. Well then. As much as I'm associated with Pac-Man, for those who know me personally, a lot of people do call me Pac-Man, as opposed to Super Pac. That's just for this. PAC, they were my initials, so it just happened. And, oh, you must love Pac-Man. It's a great game. You got a really good score on it? Yeah, I got a really good score on it. You know, scored over 1 million points. Yeah, scored over 1 million points. Yeah. Is it your favorite game? No. And people are like, what? No, it's not my favorite game. Galaga is my favorite game. That is my my chill game. When I've had a really crappy game, that's the game I go to relax. And it does the job each and every time. My brother and... Maybe. Well, we gamers, we find a common ground, especially kids from my era. We kind of be like, oh yeah, I remember that game. That game was so cool. Yeah, I love that game. Miss Pac-Man and Defender and, oh god, Rock and Rope. Do you remember that game? And Kangaroo and, Christ, all kinds of fun games to play back in those days. We're going to actually take a look at a Super Nintendo game real fast. It is not part of this thing. It's just, it deserves mention because I was really, really, truly surprised that they made this. Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers. Hell, I even love the original Mario Brothers. My best friend and I used to be brutal to each other. Technically, it's supposed to be a co-op game, right? Yeah. No. So, you know, I'm over there about ready to flip over kick off the Shell Creeper with the Side Stepper, and then my best friend comes up underneath me and punches back up, and they flip back around, and of course I get hit. So a lot of fun to play though. Let's see, I want to play some Q*bert, but I got a Super Nintendo. They happen to make one. Remember I mentioned Q*bert 3? Check this out. It's as quirky, just from the music. Oh, so many Q*berts. So I was stunned with this one. I'm going to turn that down just a tad too. Now I hear this. It is a bit on the deafening side in my headphones here. Okay, so it's a bit trippy, I will admit. See what game options have to say. It could be stereo or mono. Wow. Music off? Yeah, I kind of like music off. And you can even have the background off or on. And then, of course, it shows you controls as a flipped over controller. Okay. Oh, you can play with the buttons even. And like that, too. Don't play like that. It's something. Charming is a good word for that. Yeah. So they kind of make it a little easy. This is your classic pyramid, and you see it draws bullseyes where they're about to land. It kind of reminds me of like After Dark made Cubert. This is kind of what it reminds me of. Not familiar with After Dark. They made some kick-ass screensavers back in the day. Flying toasters, absolutely. Linda Lass is in the background in the other room. They made a series of Star Trek. Oh, Sam, you back here too? Thought they left you behind. I was hoping they'd leave you behind. The queue has an American flag on it. I've already flattered you. Yeah. Come on. Oh, now check this one out. So they kind of had some fun with the pyramids here. Here's an inverted one, and some of the squares are close to each other, while some aren't. No! That's on me. Bit trippy of a game, though, I will admit. Eh. Oh, they probably were. If you had, oh wow, Ug's actually animated. How about that? Or rather, that's the wrong way. Excuse me. Ug's the that one. Now, to be fair, they even made Space Invaders for the Super Nintendo. And they didn't do anything extra. It's literally what it says it is. It's Space Invaders. Which I found rather interesting. They made more advanced versions on the NES. Oh, that was in Red Ball. Holy cow. Ah. See if I can get rid of these as fast as possible. So it shoots out red balls. Yes, it does. Wow, okay. That is highly annoying. Imagine if you had a Game Genie, you probably could get a code or two for this. Looks like teeth. Like cavities. Yep. That's the wrong one. It sure was. Okay. Y'all didn't see that, by the way. It's just a figment of your imagination. If I say you're going to shoot one from the side, that would be so irritating. Bye, Coily. I don't suppose the apple's any good. Because the rule is, touch anything that's green's okay. Green's okay, red is not okay. So I'm going to go by that logic. But it's an apple. And apples are good for you. Okay, I see that one. Alright, cool. I wonder why it gives you points for the characters being on the pyramid. Oh, yeah, you know what? You're right. It was a tooth round, wasn't it? Apples. Game logic. So, yeah, I have this game. It's sitting in my garage right now. Like I said, this is all emulation, so take it for what it's worth. But there is one of these. Dumb. Sitting in my garage right now. Just one day I'll get my systems back together, because I do have a card capture now. want to get some of my old systems hooked up to my computer so you can see some Sega Saturn games. I got some PlayStation games showing. And on Monday, we're going to be playing Why I Got the Console. So, I bought a Nintendo Entertainment System back in the day, and I didn't get it for Super Mario Brothers. I didn't get it for The Legend of Zelda. Believe it or not, I got it for Donkey Kong. If you can believe that. Because it was the very first time Nintendo made a home version of Donkey Kong for a video game console. So we're going to take a look at that on Monday with a different system. Thursdays is that is green. Yes. But he's green. Okay, foiled. But it was green. No, green's good around here. Kermit's green, he's good. Sam's green, and he's a jackass. We're still not going to test that apple. Absolutely. Yep, they're dice. What we got now? Ah! Watermelon. Okay. Bruised watermelon. Interesting. This game is so trippy. But it is absolutely charming, I will say that. So this game deserves mention simply because of the fact that they, we're now like, 4th, 5th generation gaming here. Oh, you've got to be kidding. So it bounces all around. That is most irritating. Okay. Speaking of irritating, hello, Sam. I could have taken the disc. Oh my god. I saw the watermelon and thought to myself, what would be good right now? Pizza, yeah. God, that's busy. That's a busy game over. A real busy game over. Oh, how about that? Oh, okay. Gotta do this right. Mike's gonna remember that. Oh, you can continue. This is Cubert 3, yeah. Cubert 2 was Cubert's Cubes. So this technically is the third one. I think we're gonna end right here. I want, just out of curiosity. Okay, I took out the title music. That's just what it was. I want to say, what year was this? 93 or 94, I think they made this. This sounds. Sorry. Oh, you couldn't hear him through the music. This game is absolutely adorable. In the day, I'd say the Super Nintendo had some of the best sound chips for its time. Damn. Oh my goodness. It's weird seeing no background, though, I tell you, considering how trippy this game is. Ah, that must be a runway or nug. It is. Very good. So as I was saying, Mondays we're going to play Why I Bought the Console, and on Thursdays it's RPG night. The current RPG we're playing, we're about to wrap up as a matter of fact, is Secret of Mana. And if you're not familiar with that game, that was the 1993 Squaresoft game. It was the second in the series, believe it or not, even though it was the first time it was introduced here. The first one was Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. And it introduced the Moogle to audiences. It was not Final Fantasy. Oh, it's a good game. Good job. Oh, Sam, go away. It reminds me of like an American flag cake. Nah. Heard things great about it? Well, it's the first video game soundtrack I ever purchased was Secret of Mana. So it's that good of that. It's an action RPG game, but it was really neat because 2 players can play it. Of course, you would control the main character, or the character, situated for first. And your best buddy could grab controller too and join in the fun. Rather unique gameplay for that. And they did have a couple of sequels of sorts, The Legend of Mana for the PlayStation, but also The Secret of Evermore, which was actually done by Squaresoft LA, the Los Angeles branch. Yes, they had one briefly, about 14 seconds. And Evermore was okay. A little bit on the dull side, I have to admit. Oh. I do like the apple. But check it out on Thursday night. You can actually see some gameplay here on Twitch and on my YouTube page as well. Because I've been playing it that damn long. And only a couple hours a night, but it had some longevity to it. It's a fantastic game. You have to save the world. You get punished by your hometown, who kicks you out because you do save the world. And they don't let you back in, regardless of what you do. Those jackasses. They can go suffer for all I care. I did do that, didn't I? Well. I want redemption from that froggy. I think he's coming up on this next one. I just couldn't believe I said, "Oh, you're green." Yep. Apparently, you're not a good green. And you just bounce around. He does not jump off like Coily. Huh. Okay. Sam, you suck. Yeah, I think it's better to collide with the frog just to get him the hell off the board. He is quite annoying. How about that? There's the watermelon again. Hi, dumbass. I was wondering if it's just going to land on me like that. So instead I took the disc because I'm an idiot. I think we'll call it here. Bye! It's so done with life. Oh, but they kept that. Really? Oh, God. That's almost painful to look at. Ugh. A purple Hershey. Yeah, it did kind of look like a purple Hershey's Kiss, indeed. All right. Jesus. No idea where to get this from. All right. Anyway. Purple Hershey's Kiss. I'll have to remember that, Vin. Have to remember that. Well, that's Hubert. Arcade versus console. It's my childhood days come back. I've been playing video games, Iggy and Vin. I've been doing this for a long, long time, over 45 years now, and it's just fun to come back to the classics sometimes and kind of. It's like a memory lane. What all you experience, and having the Atari and the ColecoVision and all that kind of good stuff. It's just fun to do. And I appreciate you two coming in here, and others who may have come and gone. I have fun doing this. That's why I do it. And I'm glad you were along for the ride for this one. If you like what you saw and you watched the VOD, please give me a follow. I do have a YouTube page with all the past Twitch stuff that's no longer here, and I have a match game page. Remember that game show? No? How about that? Alec Baldwin did a recent version of it. You can check out the original on Buzzer and or Game Show Network. You can find them there as well. But I have a YouTube page celebrating that. I have an Instagram page of all the crap that I've collected over the last 45 plus years. I have a Twitter page. You can follow me on that as well as I try to remember announcing stuff I'm about to do. And also have a Discord. We talk about all kinds of neat stuff, video games, all the merchandising that came along with it. Some of the games of yesterday, and you can even have suggestions as to what should I play next. I am Super Pac Jr. Thank you for watching. Let me see. Before I forget, because I often do forget, I think I'm going to raid with both of my viewers. As long as you two are still here, I greatly appreciate it. But is there anyone I can raid to that I actually know? Most of the time I do this at night. As I attempt to raid, it just sits there and stagnates. It doesn't tell me it's not connecting. Well, there you go. Oh, there it goes. Yep, that's what I thought. Most of the time I do the raids, I do it at night. But there's no, I don't know anyone during the daytime. But I do it on Saturday afternoons anyway. Collect all both, yep. I'll tell you what, we're just going to go ahead and end stream now. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Greatly appreciate it. Have yourself a good weekend. Take care. Really, Vin? Really? And thanks for the pancakes, Iggy. And Dusty, I'll be right there, buddy. I'll be right there. Chill. See you next time.